Dan, I think people are really nervous that they're going to sell and they're going to become homeless because they can't find something to buy, but they've already sold.
Yeah, I'm not going to let that happen.
All right, here it is, Brad, the mortgage guy, and we have...
I'm Dan Richton with Teamwork Realty Group.
Awesome. So, all right, today we are going to be talking about buying and selling all at the same time. So I have a house, I need to sell that house, but I also want to buy. So we're going to talk about the mechanics of that. And Dan has agreed to join us today to talk through that and kind of give us the real estate point of view. I'm here obviously for the financing point of view. I've got a couple things that people usually come to me with. One is, what if I sell my house and I can't find something, right? I'm going to be homeless, right? So we're going to cover that, right?
We are.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Dan's going to cover that. And then the other one is people big on their minds is they might have a really good interest rate and
they're always afraid that they're going to lose that.
Yeah. Okay. So having a great interest rate right now and then buying in today's interest rate environment, that's obviously a concern as well.
It's going to be tough.
So we've got a couple ways in order to buy, right? We could buy and sell at the same time. We could do this. So maybe go through a couple of those for us.
Yep. So the biggest thing always is I can't be homeless. You know, We've got pets, we've got kids, we've got everything. So the number one thing I always try to explain to people is that we do have a way of doing it through a contingency plan where we list your property with the contingency that we will not close on your house until we find you suitable housing.
Okay.
Where you're going to purchase another property and we're going to close on the same day.
All right. And the contract really just says just that, right? It's contingent upon me finding suitable housing. I'm buying something. I've sold my house, so nobody's going to kick me out.
Correct.
Right?
Exactly.
I get to go find a house.
Exactly.
All right. That puts my mind a little bit at ease. Okay.
Yes.
So that is buying and selling at the same time, meaning I'm selling my house, I'm buying at the same time. What other options are there?
So some other options, that can make things a little bit easier, but is not always open to everybody, is if you have family in the area that you may be able to move in with. Can make things easier if you're able to close on your property and temporarily move in with family while you're searching for your next property.
Or short-term leases or something to that effect, right?
Leases, or some people are even moving into Airbnbs short-term if they know that they have a property lined up that they're going to be moving into in a short-term period.
Okay, all right.
So those can be options as well for people.
All right. Perfect. So that's an option. That is basically selling your house, moving into some type of temporary home that's maybe family, maybe that's short term, maybe that's an Airbnb, something like that, and then finding a new place. What about renting out your current house?
So, that is one thing that also, if you're lucky enough and you get that buyer, there are some buyers that have been looking forever right now. There are buyers out there that will agree to purchase your home and rent it back to you until you find your next property. If you can find a great deal like that, that is a home run scenario.
Okay.
And never hurts to ask. In this market right now, the only question that's wrong is the one you don't ask.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. So we can buy and sell at the same time. We've got to arrange to have those two coordinated so I don't become homeless, right? We can sell, rent, temporary housing, whatever it is, family, friends, whatever it is, and then buy. We can sell and rent back our own house potentially, right?
Yep.
Maybe we don't sell our house at all. Maybe we rent our house and buy a place, right?
Yep.
Let's just buy a new house and I rent out my old house.
Yep.
A lot of people are doing this right now because they feel like, I don't want to give up this awesome interest rate, right?
Yeah, we've gotten a lot of that right now.
Yeah, so renting out the current house, buying a new place. We also have just buying the new house and selling the house afterwards, right? So this is really more a little bit in my realm, right? Because the biggest part of that is the financing. So can you afford to have both houses?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Do you have the money for down payment? Because if you're going to buy before you sell, you don't have the assets from your current house.
Well, and that's why when I meet with my sellers, the first thing I do, if you're going to be buying another property, the first thing I say is you got to talk to Brad. You got to get pre-approved.
Yeah.
Very first thing you do.
All right. So that's counterintuitive, but I love when people talk about getting pre-approved up front. So we can talk about that. So that's counterintuitive. We're selling a house, but you're telling us the first step is to actually get pre-approved for a house.
It is, because you have to know, one, do I have to sell this house to buy the next house? what can I afford? Can I even afford the next house that I really want to buy to get this process going? And if it is, we want to get all of that stuff moving, so they should be calling you right away to get things, cooking.
Yeah, I guess that would stink to start the process of selling and then find out that you can't actually buy the house that you're looking to buy. Yeah. Okay. All right. So that makes sense. All right. So we had a few different ways. I'm going to read from the list here. We have selling your house and purchasing a new one at the same time. You're not going to be homeless because you would line that up contingent upon finding suitable housing, right? That's the term we throw in there. So you're not going to get kicked out. You could rent your current house. You could sell your house, move into something temporary, or you could buy without selling and then sell afterwards. All right. Back to that buying without and then selling afterwards. Few different options. One additional option we didn't talk about are bridge loans. So there are some bridge loans out there where I can go and I can get you some money from your current house so you have a larger down payment on the new house. There's also something called a recast that a lot of people don't know about. And so what this is I've bought the new house, and instead of putting down the 20 or 30% that I wanted to put down, I'm only putting down 5%, right? Now I sell my current house and I have this big chunk of money. And so what a recast is I'm taking that big chunk of money and I'm putting it back down on my loan, right? My new loan on the new house. And I'm saying, hey, mortgage lender, I would like you to redo my payments as if that was my original amount owed. It's not a refinance. It's a recast. It's really a modification where they're saying, okay, we just recognize you sent us a big chunk of money, so we're going to redo your payments as if you owed us that originally. So that's a good option. So get pre-approved first. Find out what your options are, all that kind of good stuff. Walk us through your process for a seller, like, preparing a house, the photos, the showings. When you're sitting down with a seller, what are the things you're discussing?
One of the first things we're going to do when I meet with a seller is obviously I'm coming in prepared with a market analysis, but also going in not knowing what the property is going to be looking like and trying to prep them for getting the property ready for sale. And that's going to include, sometimes it's painting, sometimes it's just decluttering, putting in new countertops. It really varies house to house. So we're going in there with that kind of stuff.
So I'm going to interrupt you there for a second. So it's funny because a lot of people, when they talk to me, the first thing I say once I've got them pre-approved, I go, you need to talk to Dan, or you need to talk to, who you're working with as far as a real estate agent is concerned. So, and they always say to me, well, I'm not ready for Dan, right? And it sounds like you're saying the same thing I say is, no. You don't need to get ready for Dan. Dan's going to help you get ready.
Well, my favorite people are the ones that call me a year before they're ready, or even 2 years before they're ready, because I love to tell people, enjoy the improvements you're going to do to your house.
Yeah.
If you're going to improve your home and you're going to put new countertops in, why don't you put them in and enjoy them for a year before you sell your house? But that's not always an option for some people. So you want to get your house ready, though, and prep to get the most money you can for selling it.
All right. So you're really going to come in and say, okay, here's the things we really need to do to your house. And then you're also probably going to give a list of things you can do to your house and what kind of returns you might expect from that.
That is basically how it goes. Now, some people don't want to do anything or can't do anything. And, and that's how we can approach it as well. I mean, some people want to do an as-is sale.
Yep.
And that's okay. And that's how we'll approach it. We're really open for all scenarios.
I feel like people are always saying to me, well, I'm not ready. And I always say, what do you need to do? Well, I got this trim I need to put up, or I've got, I really wanted to change the color of the bathroom or whatever. And you're really the one that's actually coming in and saying, no, I'm going to help you do all this stuff. Here's the trending colors. If you decided to redo this bathroom because it looks like crap, like here's what you could expect for a return on investment, and then you make a decision, right?
I can not only help you with that, I also have people that I can refer you to get them done relatively quickly and in an affordable way.
Okay, all right. So to sell your house, then you'd actually, correct me if I'm wrong, you'd actually prefer somebody does not prepare anything before they talk to you.
I would rather them do nothing and have me come in, because a lot of times people will do things, they spend their money in the wrong way.
Yeah.
I would rather them not do that. Let me come in, let me give some advice, and try and spend their money.
Yeah, they might look at that kitchen as non-functional, and they're like, oh, I got to spend $50,000 to do this, and it only returns them $25,000 in extra, and that doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. So call Dan up front is the name of the game. Okay. All right. And while you're talking about selling your house, you're probably doing some like net sheets with them to determine how much cash they're going to have, so then they know what they can then bring into their next house.
Correct.
All right. So we're talking about selling the house, but as you're talking about selling the house to people, you're also going over their purchase, right? So what kind of things are we talking about there?
We're trying to figure out what we're going to be selling your house for and what we're going to be netting for the purchase. Most people, the exciting thing is as they're looking for what kind of house they're looking to buy. That's what they're getting really juiced up about. So we're going to know what they're netting. I'm always going to be referring them back to you because we want to know what their max amount is for purchasing. So that's what they're getting excited about for us going out to look at properties. So that's why it's so important that we really hone in on what you're selling your house for.
Okay. And then that money from the sale of your house, you're then bringing over to the next house. And I think one of the things that I always try to give people is flexibility when it comes to buying the house. Now, not everybody has a ton of flexibility, but a lot of people will have some flexibility. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I stress to them is you may find a house that's like perfect walk-in condition that you're willing to take all the money from this proceeds of your current sale, put it into, because you don't have to do a lot of work to that house. However, you may also find a house that needs a lot of work and you're like, hey, I need to hang on to $50,000. I need to do a kitchen. I need to do bathrooms.
I have that discussion walking through houses every time with people, and also explaining with how much every $1,000 you put down saves you per month. And those are great discussions to have with buyers. So they understand, well, if I keep $10,000 in my bank account, how much is that going to save me on my mortgage? Well, a lot of people, $10,000 in the bank is worth $100 a month on their payment because they want that cushion and safety net in case something breaks or if they want to make improvements.
Sure. And that number right now, $10,000 is costing you about $65 more a month. So if you decided you wanted to hang on to, $10,000, $65, if you decided you wanted to hang on to, say, $30,000 to do that kitchen, well, now that kitchen, if you talk about it in terms of monthly payment, is 65 times 3. So that's what? 195. Did I do that math right? I hope so. Something like that. I'm the numbers guy. I hope so. Let's say we're selling our house. We want to be the most competitive we possibly can. And I think one of the big things and big mistakes that people make is that they don't want to list their house until they found another place and have it under contract. So feel like that's a big pitfall there. So to explain what happens.
I think right now everybody knows this is an extremely competitive market.
Sure.
And if you're going out and looking at houses with your house not on the market, unfortunately, it's a waste of time. Sellers are not going to want to look at our offers if your house is not on the market. We want to get your house on the market, and we want to hopefully get it under agreement to even go out and make our own offers, knowing that our listing is under agreement.
Okay, so this is, of course, if you have to sell your house in order to buy.
Correct.
All right, so I'm hearing that there's kind of levels of making yourself more competitive. You have to sell in order to buy. You haven't even had it listed yet. What are your chances?
Practically
zero. Okay. So it gets a little bit better if your house is at least on the market now, right?
Correct.
So it gets a little better, but still not awesome, but
not the greatest.
Better. Okay. Now your house is under contract. Now that
you're getting there.
We're getting there. Okay. So house is under contract. We have a better chance at getting an accepted offer on the new place.
Correct.
Now house is under contract. Your buyer has a commitment in hand. That's probably your strongest.
Exactly.
Your strongest position, correct? Okay. All right. So that's with selling your house. So when you're buying a house, you have what are called contingencies. One of them is the contingency of home sale. That's the one we've focused on here. There's other contingencies like your mortgage, for instance, on the new house. So one of the things that we do up front, you and I, is we get people full commitments up front. Yeah, absolutely. So if we've already got a buyer on our house, we have to sell. Now, again, if we're not having to sell, we can get rid of that contingency.
Yep.
But now we're talking about other contingencies. So we're talking about trying to be competitive. So getting your mortgage paperwork all up front, that sounds self-serving a little bit of me to say, but getting your mortgage paperwork up front done, right?
But it's important.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what's winning. That's what's winning right now is getting rid of as many contingencies as possible, right?
Yeah, I mean, sellers want to know that when they accept an offer, that it's getting to the finish line. Nobody wants to see their house going back on the market.
Yeah.
Because once it goes back on the market, everybody is asking why, what's wrong.
Sellers want to sell, right? That's what it is. And they want the least hassle possible to sell. They want the smoothest transaction possible. So the stronger you can put yourself in a position, the better. What I find a lot of people do, and this, it's sad because you see it happen over and over again, is those people who say, I'm not going to list my house until I find something. And then they lose the house of their dreams. And then they lose the next house of their dreams. And then they lose the next house of their dreams. And 3 or 4 before they finally realize it's just not going to work, right? So they finally realize that they need to list. And then we put that clause in there that says subject to suitable housing. All right. So suitable housing. I think if anything, that's probably the number one thing people need to hear is subject to finding suitable housing, because that is absolutely 100% the number one fear when people talk to me, is that they are going to be homeless.
And I think sellers think that it's going to be a turnoff to buyers, but right now there's more buyers than there are sellers. Buyers are willing to wait right now.
Yeah.
They're willing to wait for the right house.
And that's a great point. In a seller's market, you have a little bit more power ultimately, and you can set your terms a little bit more.
Yep.
I do say to people, you're going to be super happy selling your house, but finding the house is the tougher part right now.
It is.
And even from a price perspective, some people are like, oh, I feel like I'm overpaying for a house because, it's so competitive. Again, I say the same thing is, you can wait until there's not going to be 20 offers on your house that's going to drive the price up to where you can get a lower price over here. It's just you're going up and down with the market no matter what. If you're selling and buying in this market, you're going to sell high, buy high. It is what it is.
And ask the people 4 years ago how they're feeling right now waiting.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So, Dan, I appreciate it. Listen, there's a lot of anxiety around moving, and I hope that, somebody's learned a little bit something from your 20 years in this business to help them if they are thinking about selling right now. So if you're out there, if you are thinking about selling right now, hit Dan up. You've got his number. It'll show up here on the screen. It's a great time to sell.
It is.
Right? So great time to sell. So if you're thinking about it, hit Dan up. Absolutely would love to walk you through that process. You are not going to be homeless, promise.
Promise you.
No
Promise
homelessness. You. Okay. They may have options to buy without selling, that could make life a little bit easier sometimes too. There's options out there. The family's grown. Everybody's working from home. Maybe it's just 2 people and they're both working from home and they're like, I need my own space. I'm working in a closet, right? Whatever it is. There's a whole slew of reasons. Dan's here to help you navigate those on the buy and sell side, and I'm here to help you navigate those on the purchase side. And as a reminder, I'm everywhere. Dan's got connections everywhere. We can connect you wherever you are. Doesn't matter where you're watching from. We're going to be able to hook you up and get you moving, both figuratively and literally.
That's right. Licensed in Mass and Connecticut.
Awesome. Cool. All right. That's it. Appreciate it. This is Brad, the mortgage guy. We have
Dan Richton with Teamwork Realty Group.
Awesome. Have a good one.